Hey everybody, this is Senior Mississippi here. This is a video specifically for teachers or just really about anybody that's interested in getting an advanced low score on their OPI or their OPIc. So I just want to, when I was preparing and studying for the OPIc, I felt like there was not a lot of great resources to give some guidelines and tips and hints. So I want to go ahead and make a quick video just for y'all people out there. Hopefully you can get that score you need for whatever reason. So just a little background. I took the actual OPI through phone interview back in 2007, right after I had finished my semester in Mexico, and scored an advanced low, which is what we needed in our department to graduate. And I felt, like my Spanish has really done nothing but improve since then, since 2007, mostly by being a Spanish teacher and by doing some traveling and whatnot. And so when I was scheduling to take my OPIc, I felt pretty confident that I could easily, knock out an advanced low without much prep. Well, that did not happen. So I came back from a trip to Costa Rica and immediately scheduled the OPIc, thinking that'd be the best time, fresh out of a Spanish-speaking country. Took it and got my results back, and I got an intermediate high. I was very, very disappointed in myself, very demoralized. But it was at that point I kind of made a plan and did some more digging on, what is the OPIc and what could I do to better prepare myself for it. So the first thing you need to know about the OPIc is that it's going to be very drastically different from your traditional OPI interview, in which that it's through a computer and you are provided, you're given prompts, and there's no real interaction per se with your interviewee. So if you're a people person and you like to engage in actual real conversations, and you feel like you can carry on the flow of a conversation better with a real person, you might just want to go ahead and jump straight to the OPI. I think it costs about $50 or $60 more. But if you feel more confident in your kind of give and take exchange of information with an actual person, I would strongly recommend that you opt for that. The OPIc is more driven towards generating questions based on this little form that you fill out. And we're going to talk about the forms here right now. So the first form that you're going to fill out is pretty much where you're starting, what level that you think that you kind of already are at. So you're given 5 options, and these are on the OPIc's website on kind of where these score ranges are. Well, the first time I took it, I went ahead and selected form 4, which pretty much starts you off right at the intermediate high, advanced low level, and you can score up to advanced mid, or I think maybe even advanced high based on form 4. From form 4, I got some very difficult prompts that I was not prepared for, and so on my retake, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take form 3. Form 3, the highest mark you can get, is an advanced low, and I thought, well, I might as well, if that's the score I need for whatever reason, I'm just going to go ahead and it seems like a little bit of an easy way out. But I must say that that form 3 test that I took was drastically easier than form 4. Now, this also could be based on the other questions that I filled out and the prep they actually put in for the second time. But so if you're looking just to score an advanced low, that's all you need, I would strongly recommend that you go with that third form. And you can see the ranges again on the OPIc website. And again, I've got a short list of notes. This is a very informal video, but I feel like I'm speaking very off the cuff, and truthfully, hopefully that's what some of y'all need to hear regarding taking this OPIc. The next part of the form are going to be the questions that they're asking you that are going to drive the prompts that you get. So, for example, you're going to get questions that are about your occupation, or whether you are a student or a teacher or a professional. You're going to get questions that are about where you live, whether that's an apartment, a house, And both those questions are going to drive some of the prompts that you will receive, talking about your profession, and talking about maybe problems that you face in your profession, and about your living quarters. Also, in regards to living quarters, you're going to get some questions about your living quarters in the past, and we'll come back to that in a second. Now, the next prompts are the ones that are very, very important, that you choose based on your confidence in speaking about those things. For example, one of the prompts talks about your interests and your hobbies. And one option is playing games with your child. Well, I've got a 2-year-old, and she's the love of my life. She's wonderful. I love to play with her. I love to read books. I love to play games with her. However, I am not fully confident in my ability to talk about those sorts of things. So, for example, like talking about maybe playing with dolls, playing imaginary games, playing chase. These were sorts of things that, I've just now, since having a child, really begun to study and learn about. And so on my second go round, I completely avoided that interest because I did not want to have to address those issues. I also, on my first try, I marked that I was interested in going to the movies. Well, sure enough, I get a prompt talking about Hollywood, pop culture, and I was not comfortable and prepared to talk about that topic. So, for my second time around, I chose topics that I knew I could talk about in extensive length in detail. Specifically for me, I talked about running, walking, going to the park. Simple prompts with simple vocabulary and structures that I was very confident and comfortable talking about. So I strongly encourage you to, maybe not be completely honest in some of the prompts that you might be talking about and choosing regarding your hobbies. Choose the things you know you can talk about with confidence. The other thing that was kind of interesting is several times I just made stuff up. I made stuff up in my response, and this is a common strategy regarding the OPI because your interviewee or they're not going to know these facts. And this is something as a teacher, right? You might tell your students a lot as well, right? I tell them to KISS. Keep it simple, smarty. Use what you know. So don't try and overshoot, your abilities and your strengths. And so at one point, I made up a story about a party or a childhood memory that never happened. But I was able to use a variety of vocabulary through a variety of verb tenses, switching back and forth between tenses, showing my proficiency, right? So the OPI is all about showing your proficiency. So I would strongly recommend that you, make up a story because, that sort of narration, if you're a good storyteller and you're creative, you can just make stuff up and kind of weave a story that is interesting and funny because, these proctors are also, not proctors, but these evaluators are also looking for your kind of comfort with narration and description. Let's see, other notes here. You're going to, obviously, there's very, very typical to get a hypothetical situation where, like a role play, and a lot of times that role play is going to revolve around again, what you marked on your kind of like initial interest survey. So this could be a role play around, and a lot of these role plays and situations you can find on the internet. These little prompt cue cards just by searching OPI hypothetical situations or OPI situations, where you are pretty much, and the basis of these is to ask questions, right? So you're asking questions to the interviewee, to the robot interviewee, in this hypothetical situation. So make sure you can, you're prepared to ask questions that you're not really actually getting answers to. The final point of advice I would give is talking about your tenses. So obviously, advanced low, they're looking for a mastery of talking in the past, present, and future. So I made a point. You want to talk about. You're going to get asked about a specific time in the past during your childhood, more than likely. So at that point, you really want to give lots of descriptive details using the imperfect tense. More than likely, you're going to get asked a question about a specific time recently in the past where you're really going to hit hard that preterite tense. And then also, a lot of times, you're going to get a question about something in the future. And at that point, I also want to strongly recommend that, and I made a point to do this on my second time, but don't just rely on the ir plus a plus infinitive. Really, bring out those future tenses, to show some of those irregular tenses as well. Just kind of creating in your mind situations and scenarios to show your proficiency. The other thing that I also recommend regarding past tense is make sure you can show that you know your past participles. And don't just rely just on the imperfect and preterite, but also bring out some of those past participle structures to really show your proficiency. Another common prompt is going to be talking about an aspect of your life in the past and how that is different today. So a lot of this is going to revolve, probably if you mark that you are a professional, a lot of it's going to revolve around how your workplace was in the past. Again, so you're going to be relying very heavily on some imperfect tense here versus how it has changed today. And again, you're como ha cambiado. So you're going to rely back on those past participles and then lean heavy into that present tense. And again, a very easy way to prepare for this is just to brush up on all of your technology terms, because technology is a very easy way to talk about how things have changed. You can fall back on that and talk a lot about difference about access to cell phones, access to internet, access, just anything that technology has contributed to and how things have changed. It's a great thing to fall back on and really implement those sorts of tips. So again, that's all. That's my, again, I don't want to keep this video too long, but again, try for that easier form, or if you're more comfortable with OPI, pay the extra money and do the actual interview. Mark on your questionnaire those forms or those answers that you are very confident in talking about, maybe not necessarily that you that are actually relevant to you. KISS, make up beautiful and creative stories, and just make sure you're able to show your wide range of verb proficiency in all different tenses. Buena suerte y nos vemos.